as we are getting started this afternoon. And also thank you for joining us. We're very excited to share with this group a virtual event for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. My name is Acacia McGuire Anderson. I'm the statewide Employment First coordinator. And this year, due to the changes that we've all been dealing with around COVID-19, we are on a virtual platform. Nice thing about that is it's going to allow us to reach lots of people, which is very exciting. I'm going to start with a proclamation from the governor sharing with the state of Oregon that October is the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Vocational Rehabilitation actually sought this, and we're very grateful to them for that. And then I will turn it over to our panel. I'm just going to remind our panelists, while you're not talking, you could make sure to mute yourselves. That would be very helpful. All right. So, State of Oregon, Proclamation, Office of the Governor. Whereas workplaces welcoming the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas in the spirit, the state of Oregon is recognizing National Disability Employment Awareness Month in October to raise awareness about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of people with disabilities. And whereas 2020 marks the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the 100-year anniversary of the Vocational Rehabilitation Program nationally. And whereas the theme for the 2020 National Disability Employment Awareness Month is increasing access and opportunity. By working together to open doors of opportunity for all Oregonians, we can help fulfill the promise of our great state. And whereas in the spirit of the Americans with Disabilities Act, Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and Oregon's Employment First Initiative, we can improve and expand access to education and opportunity for people with disabilities to integrate into the workplace. Now, therefore, I, Kate Brown, Governor of the State of Oregon, hereby proclaim, and I'm not Kate Brown, just to be clear, but this is her signing it, October 2020 to be National Disability Employment Awareness Month. We're very grateful to the Governor's Office and the Governor for making this proclamation. So with that, I am going to turn this over to Angela Yeager. She is our communications person of extraordinary skill, and we are very grateful. She's worked very hard to organize this event today. So thank you, Angela. I will let you go ahead and introduce the panelists.
Great. Hi, welcome to the event, everyone. I'm going to introduce the panelists that we have here today, and then we'll start off with our first one. So today we have with us Laura Knoppenberger, who is the Executive Director of the Eastern Oregon Support Services Brokerage. We have Murr Stevens, who is Director of Supported Employment for Community Access Services. Trey Schneider, who is an employee with the City of Portland. Anise Keenan, who is the, oh boy, I'm going to forget your title, Anise. I didn't have it right in front of me. I've got it right here in front of me now. Disability Resources and Employment Specialist with the City of Portland. And Penny Hartley, who is with Vocational Rehabilitation. She's now a program analyst, but in her previous life, i.e. about 6 months ago, Penny was a VR counselor and worked as a specialist with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we're going to start off today with Laura, who has a presentation, and I'm going to try to get that on the screen here. So Laura, would you like to take it away, please?
Sure. Good afternoon. 10 minutes into the afternoon. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this today. This is a really cool opportunity to be able to do it like this. And I've not been a panelist previously on a GoToWebinar, so this is kind of a new experience for me. I'm much better at Zoom. In terms of employment options in Eastern Oregon, One of the things that came up time and again for personal agents is that depending on where they were in the state, that would create additional barriers for them to have, really good, authentic conversations with individuals around what they wanted to do around employment. So, for example, if you were in Harney County, there really aren't a lot of employment resources in Harney County. So we found that it was really having an impact on people, having a thoughtful, engaging discussion around what would you like to do, because they would get kind of stuck on that resource point. If we refer to VR, then what happens next if we don't have an agency? So this prompted us to kind of take a different route. Angela, if you move to the next slide. And I have my slides also pulled up in front of me just in case. We did an inventory of what our catchment area looked like in the eastern part of the state. This was in October of 2019. And what we found is that in these areas that are highlighted in pink, we really didn't have adequate resources to engage in thoughtful discussions with people and really prioritize the intention of Lane v. Brown and having everybody be able to have that opportunity to engage in meaningful community employment. So this was just kind of a snapshot of what it looked like at that time. In Harney, Wheeler, Gillum, and Lauer, we really had no resources. In Malheur, we've got one vocational agency. Hood River, Wasco, Sherman, we've got one vocational agency. So this really prompted us to kind of look at things differently and figure out ways to provide resources for our personal agents. If you move to the next slide. We started looking at this from the perspective of we hold a piece of this puzzle in terms of people's employment. The idea of meaningful employment isn't just any one person's responsibility. Employment really needs to be an option for everyone we serve and not just in the more populated areas. And we really started to realize that we shouldn't rely on any one partner to address employment and try and put all of those resources in place. We really needed to be part of that solution. We'll move to the next slide. So to that end, we got creative and we hired a capacity development coordinator. This was something that, I presented to our board and got approval on. So we hired Social Springer in November of 2019 to really assist us in thinking beyond the strategies that we had previously tried. And to identify other approaches that we might be able to take. One of the things that we really wanted to look at that we didn't have the internal staffing for was an audit on every career development plan and decision not to pursue employment by county, by age, by desire to work, supports needed, supports in industries within each locale. And then developing key next steps from that, such as industries that could be approached, who would be best to onboard as partners, and training that could be offered to personal agents and service coordinators throughout the region to strengthen individual approaches to authoring a great career development plan. By hiring Social, we increased our partnership in our existing Employment First stakeholder groups. And we've worked on identifying interested agencies to come into areas like Mid-Columbia. Mid-Columbia is one of our areas where we don't have a whole lot of resources, but we do have a strong desire from the individuals who live here that they want to work. We've got Employment First teams in Malheur, Baker, Union, Harney, Grant, Umatilla, and Hood River. And then Teresa Knowles, our ODDS employment specialist, she helps to pull together a regional employment first group that includes all of these teams to really think about and generate new ideas and ways that we can approach rural Oregon. You know, another thing that's been extremely helpful to us has been our transition network facilitators. We've got a number in Eastern Oregon, Chris Rita and Lon Thornburg, and then our ODDS employment liaisons. They've really done the heavy lifting to ensure that schools, providers, and case management entities have access to resources. And if you move to the next slide, our personal agents, service coordinators throughout Eastern Oregon, VR counselors, we found that they are often wearing multiple hats to approach community employment opportunities. So we have VR counselors who are out doing job development. We've got PAs that are being creative in terms of helping somebody pursue employment. And it may be something that's entirely new, like developing an egg delivery business. We try not to get stuck in that proverbial rut, so to speak, in considering employment ideas. So wherever somebody's at, think about not the career development plan, not the D&E, but having a conversation with an individual. What do you really like to do? What engages you? What interests you? What are people doing around you? And going back later to fill that form out. Oftentimes, I think the people, especially social workers, we really get stuck on, well, we want to call boxes. But having an employment discussion with somebody really has nicer paper. Individual back to work at Safeway. So while things were for a while kind of locked down and it was impacting people to return back to their jobs, with some different supports in place. Horizon's been able to support someone who works at the library in Pendleton. And VOR, they're a new provider agency in the Umatilla area. They've been working really hard on finding a job for somebody during this time, and they just found a job at Java Junkies. So I think that the things that we're doing in Eastern Oregon are definitely very supportive of the philosophies behind Lane v. Brown, and we've figured out different ways to kind of make this work during this time. And it's been extremely helpful to have a capacity development director taking some of that stuff and really helping us think through it and strategize a little bit differently. Our main goal is to get some additional resources in Eastern Oregon. So I think that wraps up my piece. I don't know if I hit 10 minutes on the mark, Social or Angela, but I tried.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. And I should mention to the folks that we will take questions at the end. Because it's format, you can only take questions through the questions box. But you can start submitting questions, and we'll try to get to whatever ones we can at the end. So, now the director of community services.
Hi. So at TASC, we serve individuals in both the Portland Metro area, all 3 Portland counties, as well as Columbia County, which it sounds like has some of the similar challenges that you were talking about, Laura. Not, I think, on quite the scale. We are the only provider there, but it is in many ways. There are commuter communities to the Portland metro area, so it's not quite as remote as some of the parts of Eastern Oregon. But we've had just a lot of challenges in terms of transitioning the supports that we provide into a COVID-safe system, as well as just the impact that initial March kind of wave of changes had on the folks that we support. So one of the biggest things that we've done is really try to take advantage of the opportunities to serve people. One particular individual who's in Columbia County, we have supported her for, more than 5 years in a business, and has both accounting and business services, sort of a combined set of services to various businesses in the community. And this individual really has been asking for remote services for a long time. She wants coaching, but she does not want somebody coming into the office. The office itself has concerns about, having, tax paperwork lying around and coming in. And so we've been able to actually offer the service that she's been asking for quite some time, to be able to call and serve them. I think trying to approach things in a way of being able to more creatively meet the needs that existed before, as well as Trey, who you'll hear from soon, I think has really benefited from being able to kind of collaborate and approach creatively. How do we transition a medicine into a service that is working with him, and he works in all that side as positions change. So that's been kind of the overall how do we take these services provided and change them? I think we as an agency have been really lucky in terms of the relationships that we built in the past with employers, being able to kind of come back and with that foundation, get a lot of people back to work. Not all our some people have lost positions. Business that we work with have either closed or really had to reimagine what they do. But one thing that I think that has been, really effective has been sort of approaching with creativity these business owners that are also kind of taking that creative approach at the same time. So, I think working with the city of Portland has been one particular example of that as a success. We have been able to sort of meet the needs of the individuals that work for the city of Portland. Trey, I hope that we, as the positions change and evolve over time, trying to have that coaching support evolve as well. I think trying to trying to see as we go and really respond to that need has just been, you know, I think the kind of the focus of what we've been doing.
Great, thanks, Mer. I appreciate it. And I think we're going to have a little bit more from you as we talk to Trey as well. So appreciate that. Our next panelist is Trey Schneider, and Trey is an employee with the city of Portland. And I think I first met Trey when he was a Project Search intern. And a Project Search is an internship program for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to get an experience, you know, working in community jobs and often with, you know, very large employers such as governmental agencies, hospitals, et cetera. And that internship experience, I believe, and Trey can address that, led to his current job at the city of Portland. So welcome, Trey.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So I'm going to ask a few questions to kind of help facilitate this, but don't be shy. Feel free to share whatever you want to. But I thought to start off, maybe you could tell folks a little bit about what you do at City of Portland, what your job is.
Well, the official title that was created was Office Support Specialist Assistant, which in terms of what I've done, practically is several jobs. I've been front desk, I've been guy working on the scanner all day, I've been taking utility bills, answering phones. I've practically almost done almost all office jobs in the course of, well, if we count being an intern, probably been almost just shy of just over 2 years now, I think. I'm not, I have to go back and do it. Thank you. Almost 3.
Almost 3 years. Wow, that's impressive. And what department do you work for, Trey?
I am part of the Operations and Maintenance Group under the Bureau of Environmental Services.
Great. And how many hours do you work per week, Trey?
About 40.
Oh, wow.
So full work week, and with teleworking on the laptop, it's almost as easy as roll out of bed and log on.
Which we've all been doing quite a bit of that, a lot of us anyway. So tell us about how your job changed when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. You started working from home?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, so you started working from home when COVID-19 happened? Is that correct?
There was a period of time where I wasn't. I was technically considered I was still reporting, but I didn't have this laptop. It was mid-March, and I remember the situation, but it was basically there was some phone call, and it's like, okay, we're gonna need you to just head home for the week. And I asked when I was gonna come back, and they said they'd let me know. And a couple weeks later, they say, hey, come on site, we got you a laptop. And it surprised me. I mean, I liked going into work every day. Granted, waking up at 4 o'clock to a blaring alarm is not exactly anyone's favorite thing. But I liked being able to come on, tell the security hi, say hi to my coworkers, and now it's like I'm on. Oh, James is on. I'll say hi to James through Skype. I can't just suddenly call the phone, go hi James, or good morning, or anything like that. So it's interesting to telework. I know that several of my coworkers had days where they just teleworked on a regular schedule, and I wondered about that. Now I guess I know what it can feel like.
Yeah, so you miss seeing your coworkers.
Sometimes.
So you're able to do a lot of your work from home?
Mostly. I mean, one of my regular jobs was deliver mail, so I can't exactly do that working from home. But I do have one day I'm on site a week, so those are the days I do mail and sort bills on the odd occasion, or any other of the 13 different paper projects I'm actually in charge of.
Oh, 13 projects. That's impressive.
You also cover the front desk, Trey, which was.
I'd have to double check my own file word. I think I've lost one or two of those because of COVID.
Yeah, and so Murray, you were saying that he also covers the front desk, but I assume that's not happening now.
It was.
Oh,
We've installed a security guard at the gate, so really all I would actually do up front is check the admin voicemail. So there's no answering the gate or the door for me now.
Murray, could you address a little bit about some of the supports that Community Access Services has put in place for Trey?
Yeah, we have, well, I think initially there was that phase and every business I think dealt with this in mid-March. What are we going to do and how are we going to do it? And I think that, you know, we worked with you, Trey, and with your team here at the plant to figure out how to sort of facilitate a work from home routine that was going to be effective. And, you know, you really did a lot of great advocacy around that. You know, and I think that getting that into place was I think really effective. And you know, you've really shown that you've got the ability to stay focused. And in many ways, I think that you being able to control your environment and the temperature, the music, all of that, I think is actually really good for your ability to focus and power through some of those peskier tasks. So you know. The supports that we provide have always kind of been, I mean, you know, obviously customized because that's what we do, but really kind of suited to the moment that you happen to be in, Trey. So, you know, during those moments when there have been sort of more pieces in motion and you need a little bit more support to kind of figure out you know, a peaceful path through all that, we've had more support. But you know, as you really hit a stride with working from home, what we do now is basically a phone check-in, and then occasionally I've been able to swing by on the days that you have been here to just kind of double check, you know, how are things going? What does it look like to be, you know, to be working here? You know, I was here, gosh, last week or the week before when you were, you know, in the front desk role before the security guard was installed, and you know, just really trying to problem solve how to do work in a space where there's a lot less control, you know, people coming and going and disruptions. So, you know, that sort of thing that all of us office folks deal with.
Yeah, exactly. So with the 1 minute or so we have left here, Trey, do you want to tell everybody what you like about your job?
Well, I guess it's really the people I work with. I mean, they're all employees of the city. They all know their jobs, but they're also in most cases easy to talk to. They're fun to exchange thoughts with. They'll when things happen and you need questions, they usually come up with the answer or an idea or really just, I'd almost want to say they're almost like friends you feel like you've been around for a few years, but no. I think I'll probably label that. It's almost like we're a big group of friends with each one having one gear to work with in an entire transmission. It's one's got one's got this, and just the banter I listen to on some of them is so amusing. Bouncing things off of one another.
It's great. Thank you for Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that, Trey. Really appreciate it. That was great to hear about. We all, I think, are missing our teams right now, especially being in person, those of us who are working remotely. So I think a lot of us can identify with that. So, okay, so we're going to move on to our next panelist, who is Anise Keenan with the City of Portland. And welcome, Anise. Appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely. No, and I'm very glad to be here and to support Murr and Trey and Penny and Lauren. I think it's been wonderful having Trey in the city, and I cannot believe it's already been 2 years. So yeah, my name is Ani E. Keenan. I am the Disability Resources and Employment Specialist at the City of Portland. So my job is really disability equity as it relates to employment, so job applicants, interns, employees, and elected officials at the city. And I really do a lot of policy work. I work on helping to transform workplace culture so that it's more inclusive and equitable. I work on disability data. I work on training. I mean, the simplest way is that I'm just a Jill of all trades, master of none. But I did want to take this opportunity to really highlight two of the most exciting programs that I work on. Unfortunately, we were not able to do either program this year because, of course, of COVID-19, but I am really looking forward to hopefully being able to do them next year in the summer and fall. So of course, we've already talked a little bit about the Project Search internships, but I wanted to elaborate a little bit on that from an employer perspective, because I think so Project Search internships really started with in hospital settings. And so there was an advantage in that you have these large private businesses, essentially private organization, where it's one employer, there's more or less pretty consistent rules and pretty consistent work environment. Where trying to do that, the Project Search program at the City of Portland required a lot of creativity because it's not all one consistent workplace. I mean, we have a little bit of everything here, which I think both works for and against us sometimes, where, we absolutely have office environments and office settings where people are working on computers all day long. But we also have, firefighters and police officers and park rangers and maintenance crews and construction crews and mechanics and carpenters. So it's a really interesting variety of work environments. And I think probably, government being government, right? We are infamous for being a bureaucracy with lots of red tape and lots of layers. Well, we have always done this way. Why would we ever change? But I will say that I think Project Search internships were a tremendous opportunity for the City of Portland, because I think it really, for probably, I think amongst the first time, really challenged a lot of city managers about the presumptions that they might have had about what people could or could not do. And I think every manager, quite literally, who has been part of the program here at the City of Portland has commented to me how much working directly with people who have disabilities really changed their viewpoint on what was and what's impossible. And so I think that absolutely, participants in the program benefit so much, but so too do the staff who are part of the program and interacting with participants. I think that really, really just helps to change hearts and minds in a way that always really works out. So we are hoping, I am really, really crossing my finger that we will be able to have our Project Search program next fall, so fall 2021. It will take, definitely, things are going to be a lot more interesting now, because I think both for this program and for the other programs that I'm going to talk about shortly, but many of them were hands-on jobs, do hands-on activity. And so now the City of Portland is in an unusual situation where about 60% of our workforce, or we have a workforce right now of about 6,000 people, and about 60% are working from home right now. And even if we are able to sort of slowly maybe bring people back in 2021, which I think we're hoping to do, at the same time, there's also kind of an acknowledgement that, yeah, we're going to have a lot of remote employees for indefinitely. You know, a lot of people really like working from home. We don't want to come back to the office. And then, of course, we have about 40% who are currently working under. So, for example, our 911 call center. So it will be interesting. Project Verge has always been an innovative program. I think it will continue to be innovative. We're going to have to continue figuring out new ways and new environments and how we can really be supportive of everybody in the workplace. But I'm really hoping and looking forward to hopefully doing that next fall. The other program that I want to talk very briefly about is the Access to Work program. And the Access to Work program, and that is the one I am really bummed that we could not do this year, but I am really looking forward to trying to do this for summer 2021, which is I haven't called it a supported employment program because it's not really quite that. However, it was certainly inspired by a lot of very similar programs, including the state of Oregon, OHSU, City of Seattle, and Nike as well, where Access to Work, the goal of that program is to really offer equitable entry-level employment opportunity for people with disabilities who benefit from a longer learning and training period. I was very specific with that definition because although 100% people with intellectual, cognitive, developmental disabilities should absolutely have that opportunity, I also wanted to acknowledge other people with other types of disabilities who may not have had the same educational opportunities, for example. So it's really focused on, yeah, this is an amazing group of, an amazing community, an amazing group of people who can very much do the job. They just might need a little more time to learn all the different bits and pieces of it. So, so I'm crossing my fingers. My goal is to hopefully have 3 positions, job opportunities available this summer. I look forward to promoting that when that comes. But I want to just kind of close out my part of this by saying that it has been phenomenal to have Trey here at the city, and I think he really has been a pioneer of the city. He's really helped HR figure out what we need to do. He helped our city staff, I think, be more inclusive and more thoughtful about their own work as well. And of course, all around, he is just in and of himself a very valuable and warmly welcomed employee.
Great, that was fantastic, and keep us informed as the everything goes forward with the other projects. We want to hear more about that, so we can assist with getting the word out. Let us know. So we'll move on to last but not least, Penny Hartley with vocational rehabilitation. And Penny has just moved into a new role with vocational rehabilitation out of the central office, but spent many years, I won't say how many, I'll let Penny talk about that, as a VR counselor in the Portal area. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, and I appreciate it for being able to be here. It has been a wonderful 15-year journey so far, and I'm looking forward to many more years. So I was asked to share a little bit about what the role of VR is during this time and helping folks with employment, and also to share some of the creative ways that VR counselors are supporting people during COVID. So first, I'd like to share some interesting facts that you may or may not know about vocational rehabilitation. So our mission is to help people with disabilities to achieve and maintain and advance in employment and independence. Our agency actually serves about 20,000 people a year, which is very amazing. We work with over 130 school districts to prepare students with disabilities during their transition from high school to employment and independence. And we also provide services to local businesses that enjoy hiring and retaining talented employees. This year actually marks the 100th anniversary for the VR program, so we're really happy about that. We provide a wide range of services to assist people with disability-related barriers, such as accommodations, assistive technology, training, job developing and job coaching, work-based learning experiences, work readiness, skills training, and many, many, many more individualized services. I would like to share some recent success stories from around the state. So in the Bend area, we have some VRCs that have been really creative doing intakes using group FaceTime, Zoom, and even phone meetings. They also do what they call drive-by meetings. This is where they meet clients in the parking lot in order to get signatures or just to kind of briefly meet. And obviously they're practicing social distancing and wearing face masks and all of the governor's guidance that they follow. But I thought that was really cute. They also have a picnic table area where they can also meet with clients if they need to. And then in La Pine, we have a very creative job developer. I had the opportunity of speaking with her yesterday, and she has been able to develop a really great curriculum for helping clients either through employment path or also through the Voc Rehab career exploration component. And she teaches these skills classes to clients, but she's gotten really creative at doing creating like board games to help with the virtual learning. And so one of the things that she developed was a money bingo game to help them identify money, really creative. And then she has a really great curriculum that she developed using an actual board game that she created to teach interview skills. So, and then we also have a VRC in Pendleton that I think Laura was kind of mentioning a little bit earlier in her talk, that they've gotten, our VRCs there in that area have gotten really creative at actually being able to do some job developing on their own and going out and finding jobs during this time. It's been very hard for them there because they have such a lack of job developers, but our VRCs have to kind of wear a lot of hats. In Eugene, one of our VRCs worked really hard with a client who was, she said the client had not been successful at finding a job for almost 2 years. And they did get a job before COVID, but then they ended up getting laid off. Once they were able to take the client back again to start working, once they started working into the new phases, she was able to really work with a job developer to help provide accommodations. And this was kind of above and beyond, I would think, what we normally do, but she really worked with that job developer to make some accommodations for that client. He really needed to have clear communication and structure in his job. And he hadn't been very successful because they always moved him up so quickly. He really wanted to work a lot more hours, but his hours were always cut really short because of the problems that he was having in the job. So they slowly increased his hours from 8 hours a week all the way up to 32. And they provided a lot of really clear communication and structure for him. Now he's thriving and he absolutely loves the job just because of that little intervention. Sometimes it doesn't have to take a mountain to be able to help someone. Another VRC in the Portland area set up a virtual meeting with a mental health counselor because she had a client that was really struggling with mental health and depression during this time. And so she was able to find a counselor to work with him virtually until he could get set up with medical benefits and be able to have access to mental health care. And at our North Salem office, the VRC helped one of her clients to get a job working virtually from home. Now that doesn't sound like anything, but the really big part of that is that not any of that was ever done in person. Everything was done virtually. So even the job developer helped her get set up with a virtual job interview and virtual job onboarding. And so everything has been completely done virtually for that client. So we have many job developers who have created online virtual training programs, and they're really creative at setting up virtual informational interviews, online job tours, so that clients can kind of get an idea of what the job looks like. And then creative job coaching virtually. So as you can see here in Oregon, we keep doing things a little at a time, but they bring really big rewards. And I am just really grateful to be a part of this work with all of our partners out in the community. And I really congratulate Trey on his successful internship and employment, and that you know, and the city of Portland for their wonderful work and what they've done to help with our clients and being able to get jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. I really appreciate those stories. I might have to follow up with you on a few of those for potential virtual success stories. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that was our panel. I think we've got some questions, and I am not sure. Let's see if I can do these. I don't know if Acacia is still on or not.
Of course. Angela, do you want me to read them?
I'm going to try to. That would be great. Yeah, I'm having a hard time doing 3 things at once.
No problem. So one of the first questions is about whether or not vocational rehabilitation is still operating during COVID-19. Penny, could you speak to that? And also maybe share if a family is having trouble connecting with a VR counselor, who they might want to connect with.
You bet. Absolutely. We're still here and doing really well. And as I said, we're getting really creative at the way we're doing things. Currently right now, we are doing intakes. We're doing them virtually. If a person absolutely has no way of doing a job virtually, either by phone or by Zoom or any of those kind of ways, we can actually work on meeting in person. And that would just need to go through the branch manager of whatever office that they're closest to. One of the things that we do is during the virtual work is trying to get signatures, and we are in the process of trying to get online signatures so that we don't have to do everything in print. So, but that's coming. And so we are open for business. Our offices are currently not open, but we are still doing business. So mostly from a virtual perspective. In order for them to be able to reach out to someone, they can contact any office. Our phones are working. We usually have some staff in the office that can answer phone calls and can take a referral. We do have a little bit of a wait list in most offices just because of COVID. It's slowed things down a bit, but we're still out there and we're still providing services.
Awesome. Thank you, Penny. Another question that came up was, when would potential clients apply for the fall 2021 internship for Project Search, and/or how do we get updates regarding whether there will be an internship next year? Same for the Access to Work program.
I can answer the Project Search questions. You know, there's quite a bit of lead up work that has to happen before the internships themselves begin. And so typically we start the planning process for identifying which bureaus will be worked with, the kinds of work that will be done, what those internships will look like, who will be, the interns will report to. We start that, in about the sort of right after the holiday season ends. And so, you know, I think we're going to be looking for a sign that it's going to be safe to start that work right around that time of year. So I think we can kind of, from there, if there will be a safe path forward for interns. Typically, we open up the process of recruitment in spring for the fall internships, and then throughout that summer, the process of applications and interviews and getting all of the funding sources in order, of course, with VR and with ODDS. So it's kind of a long timeline, but it means that, you know, we can start strong when those internships start. So
Yeah, sorry, just to briefly add to what Murray said. So yes, very much. Yeah, so for both programs, for Project Search Internship and for Access to Work, there's a ton of groundwork that usually has to happen. So I actually start doing my work December, January to prepare for summer. But yeah, so with internships, with the Project Search internships, Mur is actually the very best contact for that because she's the one, so Cass kind of helps primarily with the recruitment for this program. So my end is to make sure we have bureaus on board, everybody's got their badges, we've got all the spaces and all the rooms that we need. But Mara, definitely for questions about Project Search internship, she is your go-to person. For access to work, so typically how I have been working with marketing for that as of right now is that one of the criteria in order to apply for a job position that's part of the Access to Work program is that the person applying needs to be working with an approved folk rehab or supported employment provider. And so with that, so my communication is primarily with folk rehab or supported employment provider. That being said, I do anticipate that we probably, I would say like February, March, April, so around early spring, that's when we're really going to be having more intense, I'm going to be having more intense conversations with the different agencies and organizations in the area who may possibly have clients that they would like to refer to the Access to Work program and to see if they might be able to get one of the job opportunities. So I'm the best person to report if you have questions about the Access to Work program. Mara's the person to go to for Project Search.
Thank you. That's very helpful. We do have quite a few questions coming in about whether or not these programs are available statewide. The Project Search program is actually a national curriculum, and it's a program that we've been able to implement in many parts of the state. However, a provider has to decide to implement it. There has to be an interagency agreement between VR, DD, and often the Department of Education or a school district. And so it's not available in all parts of the state because not all parts of the state have tried to use that model. That being said, there is other models through employment path services that are also available. Angela, is it possible on the main screen to put up the Employment First email address so that some of these more specific questions could be emailed to employment or to our Employment First email? Some of these are very specific to specific regions. And if you have a question that's about a specific program, if you could send us an email and tell us what county you're in, what region you're in, we'd be happy to tell you if there's a Project Search or what other programs might be available. So I think we maybe have time for just one more question. Penny, I think this one is for you. It's pretty broad, but there's a few questions here just in general about what VR services are available. I know you can't list every VR service that's available because you really make it individualized to that person, but in about 1 minute, this is a big ask, could you summarize just a few of the services VR offers across the state?
You bet. So everything from the beginning part of it would be a lot of comprehensive assessment to really try to help a person figure out what it is that they can do now with their the barriers that they may have from their disability, and being able to help them figure out what would be a good fit for a job. So that's the first part of it, helping that person to figure out where they fit in the world of work and what would be a good match and something that they would like to do and enjoy doing. And we're really good at that piece of that. And that's all different kinds of assessments, everything you can think of to help figure that piece out. So, and then once the person knows what they want to do, we provide every kind of support and service available to help them be able to get that job and keep it, whatever it is that they want to do. And that includes helping them with any kind of accommodation, providing adaptive technology, assistive technology. It could be even as little as just, skills training classes, job coaching, job developing, and then even helping with some of the providing tools and things that they might need for their trade, if that's what they're going into. So just pretty much, like Acacia said, it is very individualized based on what the person's needs are, but we do offer almost everything you can think of.
All right.
Great. And I think that we don't have any more time for any more questions, correct, Acacia?
No, that's correct. And a lot of people are signing off because we're right at 1 o'clock.
We're right at 1 o'clock. I want to thank our panelists today. You all were amazing and awesome, and you're doing great work. and I really appreciate your time. We're sorry we couldn't get to everyone's questions. I put the email up there, but email Employment First if you have any questions for any of our panelists, and I'll make sure they get them. So thank you all for joining us for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.